And welcome to Nerdstalker. I am Adolfo Fronda at Nerdstalker on Twitter, nerdstalker.com, and all the places with a very special guest, Rich Schramm. So, Rich is the founder of iGotThis, an app, community, and mission dedicated to helping ADHD families and extraordinary kids better navigate the expectations of our ordinary world. Rich has had a number of hands on and leadership roles in the corporate and consulting sectors of the technology industry over the past 25 years. He lives in Cincinnati with his wife and 3 ADHD kids. Welcome to the show, Rich.
Thank you.
So is it Rich or Richard? What do you like to go by?
Rich, people call me a lot of things, but Rich is probably
That's a good one. All right. So Rich, I know that you're a tech, you've got tech experience. You were in the tech community and world, and you still are, but you left a sort of a cushy job to start your own endeavor, become an entrepreneur. Congratulations on that, and create a very interesting application known as iGotThis, which is about to be rolled out and is in beta, I understand. Can you expand on what iGotThis is and how you got to your journey to it?
How I got this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have ADHD myself, and I was probably the poster child for ADHD as a kid. My elementary school teachers still remember me by name and talk about me without fondness.
Same
Yeah. So, I've experienced it as a child, as an adult, and now I have 3 kids that have ADHD. And basically, as a technology guy, I was looking for a solution for our family to help us keep the wheels on, basically. And there was nothing out there. I mean, there's a lot of different point solutions and things that are designed for adults, and 1 or 2 that are designed for families, but they weren't really designed for our kind of family. And so as a technology guy, I'm like, there's got to be an app for that, but there's not. And I kind of had it in the back of my mind that, yeah, maybe someday, somebody will develop one, or, maybe I'll do it. And, I just kind of moved on with our life, and we were using kind of a manual system of what we call playbooks with our kids to help try to, keep them motivated and get stuff done. And it was working, but, there's a lot of potential that it wasn't doing and wasn't taking advantage of. And, after a while, we just became more and more frustrated with, the lack of tools that were available. And I was running the R&D lab of a technology company. And so it's kind of a geek's dream job, really.
Wow.
I was, basically playing with new technology and doing a lot of mobile stuff, and we were using beacons and doing a lot of interesting stuff.
Cool.
But the company basically decided to shut down the lab. And at that point in time, the president of the company, or the CEO, said, I'm happy to help you find something, but there's not really a role here. At that point in time, I kind of took stock of where I was and what I was doing with my career. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna try this. I had some money saved up, I had some severance, and rather than going out and getting another job, I decided I was going to try to build something here. So it was my first foray into entrepreneurship, and it's been a tremendous lot of ups and downs with it. It's been a kind of a roller coaster ride, but it's been a great experience for me personally. And, I was able to kind of leverage the background that I have and the skills, and I hired a team of people, and we have built something that I think is really amazing. And we're very proud of it. And, we're in beta right now, and the feedback has been really great. And, I'm getting probably 10, 20 people, signing up every day asking if they can be part of the beta. It in the messages that these people are sending, I ask, when people are signing up, I say, why is it that you're interested in this? And universally, it's been, I need this for my kids. It's whatever the issue is, it's all about the kids and what their family is going through. And some of them, I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's been, people said, you may be my last chance. I want my little boy back, and stuff like that. So
Wow.
it's, it kind of stabs me in the heart, and no pressure there, right? Just trying to save a family.
Right, right.
But in the end, I think it's going to be awesome for so many families, and we've been using it in our family, and it's been working great, and I think it's going to help a ton of people.
Wow, that's quite the motivator to, we're showing the we were showing the displaying the website there for a while there with
Yeah.
some people and with everyone. But that's quite an amazing motivation to get this to get the app going. And it is an app, right? Is it iOS only? What are we talking here?
Well, it's actually it's web, and
Oh, cool.
it's also a iOS and Android. So there's a
Mm,
mobile app component, and then there's a website component
web-based.
too. So some of the stuff, we tried to think of this, because I have ADHD, and, it
Same
runs
here.
in my family. I tried to keep it very simple on the mobile so that it
Yeah.
wasn't, ergonomically, it was a lot easier to use.
Right.
And then, there's some additional features and so forth that are up on the web, but it's both. And, it works offline. So we have like databases that synchronize, and it's
Of
really
course.
pretty
Yeah.
complicated from a technology
Yeah.
perspective, a little bit more than I had even anticipated. But
Right.
I think what we've got is great. So
When we were looking at it, I thought, and you mentioned earlier, it reminded me as an adult now, I've discovered obviously organizational tools that I need for my own ADHD as well, right? I depend on them. So my personal tool of choice at this point is Todoist, but I've went through a great deal of these sort of productivity type of applications to keep me on task for certain things. And as for children, and for my child, and I'm sure a lot of children, other parents out there. Their children are very unorganized, forgetting things all the time. Some ADHD, as we both know, is a spectrum where you fall along the line of this type of stuff. I'm often dealing with lost clothing, things like that,
right.
and really, things that are sort of important. And you just telling your kids, you got to remember this stuff is just not enough.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And always coming down on them is not a thing. And I know there are other applications like chore type of applications, but
Hmm.
those didn't really work for us. We even tried to put up a Kanban board for a while, but I think that was a
Right.
little too adulty. So your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. So we did the same thing. We went through a series of, like, the chore apps, and one of the thing that we found is that just giving a kid a notification when it's time to do something is not enough. If they have ADHD,
Hmm.
they'll get distracted.
Right.
Or they'll forget, even from the time they get the notification, it's time to do something. Maybe it's not convenient right that second. And so one of the things that, as we were designing this, we start thinking about, the issues that we have both as adults and as kids with
Hmm.
distraction and that kind of thing, as well as the self-esteem issues. And those were two
Hmm.
components that we were really focused on while we were developing this. And so
Right.
from a reminder standpoint, what we've done is, you don't just get a reminder when it's time to start something. You get a reminder a few minutes before it's time to start something, and then you get another reminder when it's time to start. And then you'll continue to get these reminders until you mark that task as started. And then once that task is started, you'll continue to get what we call focus alerts that keeps the kid focused. So if they lose track of what they're doing, they get distracted, they'll get an alert every few minutes saying, hey, you should be focused on your homework. And it'll bring them back in and remind them what they're supposed to be working on until they get it done. And with that, once that's done, then they get awarded the tokens that they can use to redeem for rewards that you as the parent set up.
Very cool.
But in addition to that, we have, for the parents, we actually do real-time notifications to them. So if your child has not started a task that they were supposed to have started, you will get the notification then, saying, hey, Mikey hasn't started doing his homework yet. He was supposed to have checked that off 5 minutes ago.
Right.
So when that happens, then you get the notification as a parent. And so what that lets you do is step back a little bit from the kids, let them use the app to be successful on their own without you having to hover over top top of them and giving them the digits, right? Did you do this? Did you do that? My
Right.
kids lovingly refer to it as digititis in our house.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so, and the implication of that is that I don't trust you, and that's why I'm having a standing over top of you, and that's damaging the kids' self-esteem. And what we
Mhm.
found as we were doing our research on this is that the self-esteem is a huge part of the downside of ADHD in kids. The NIH, the National Institute of Health, did studies that show kids that have ADHD have lower self-esteem than kids that don't, and sometimes pathologically low. And there's a reason for that. They
Oh, for
experience
sure.
this constant stream of small failures, and it's
Hmm.
like water wearing away at a rock.
Right.
And so what we've done is we've tried to design a system that helps you create a stream of steady successes, small
Hmm.
successes that help build this back up. But we also put in, positive messaging. You get a positive feedback when you're getting the tokens and the rewards. There's badges that you earn for leveling up, and we have what are called additives or ADDitives.
Hmm.
And basically, what that is positive messages that go out to the people with the app every like day or every so often that
Hmm.
say things like, "Hey, having ADHD is just a byproduct of having an extraordinary mind," and that's the way that we look at things. We judge ADHD, within our organization, we believe that ADHD is indicative of superpowers, right? I
Right.
mean, it's people like Einstein and Edison and
Yeah.
Richard Branson nowadays, and all these really hyper successful people
Right.
have been driven by ADHD. And we judge kids that have ADHD based on how well they sit in class quietly, like that's some kind of important life skill. And
Right.
it's
Right.
it's there's so much positive that goes along with ADHD. And yeah, you're going to be more distracted because your brain's going 100 miles an hour in three different directions at the same time. But how cool is it that you have a brain that can do that? And that's the message that we're trying to relay to these kids, so that they don't go through life feeling like there's something wrong with them, that they're broken, because
Mm.
that's not the truth. And so that's part of our mission, is to make sure that these kids realize that they're extraordinary, and that they have the capability of doing amazing things, and they shouldn't feel bad because they forget to bring their pencil to class.
That's a wonderful story and a wonderful sort of narrative to sort of to explain to children who are going through this thing. And as adults, those of us who've experienced this type of thing, we know the trauma involved and all
Oh yeah.
those micro failures. And we also know that we can end up on the winning end, as successful adults, as yourself, myself, others out there, and the super successful individuals that you just highlighted.
Sure.
One a book I
Michael
wanted to bring up.
Phelps, I mean, all these
Yeah,
people, it's
Michael
amazing.
Phelps you bring up too. Yeah, and it's this is a really good book too. It's called Secrets of a Buccaneer Scholar. It's about basically an ADD sort of individual who realized, the school path wasn't really for him, yet he became this really successful IT individual. Like myself, I can't read one book at a time. So, I'm like, am I the only guy? And I read in this book, this guy's reading 20 books at a time, just like I do, right?
Right.
I slowly get through the books, but that's kind of how I am. I bounce around on a lot of different things. So this is really neat that you provide this sort of tool and the narrative, as well as on the side. I think you talked about in other interviews, I think I've heard, is that you're going to create a community, right? Or you're trying to create a
Yeah.
community so that we can all talk amongst ourselves about this and our superpowers.
Right. There's three aspects to this, right? There's the app, both the web and the mobile app. There's the community, and there's the mission. So I've talked about the mission a little bit and the app, but the community, I think, is an important part of this, because parents like us, I mean, again, the messages that I'm getting from so many people about what they've been through, and it's heartbreaking. It is
Yeah.
hard. I mean, it's hard to be a parent, but
Yeah.
it's even harder to be a parent of kids with ADHD.
Oh, for sure.
And a lot of, like, a lot of this the kids get honestly, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
they're getting it from the parents, and so the parents have their own challenges of staying organized, and they have um, the challenges of raising kids that are generally awesome kids, but are, they're coming home seeing their self-esteem battered every day,
Mhm.
and they have trouble doing things that, people without ADHD don't have trouble doing. And,
Right.
and so what we've put together, or what is part of our solution, is a community as well. So when you join the I Got This community, not only do you get the app and the access to the website, but you get to join a community of people where you can communicate with them through message boards. You'll have your own blog page. You'll be able to get questions and answers from experts in the field, guest bloggers, and all these kind of things. But most importantly, you'll be able to communicate with other parents that are in the same situation you are.
Mm.
You can support each other and teach and learn and share stories and listen. And it's just a way for us as parents of kids with ADHD to be able to come together and work together as a community. Because I mean, we are all in this together, and it's an important thing, and we need to be able to communicate and share that kind of thing. And so that's the other aspect of this whole thing, is to bring these three pieces together: the community, the mission, and the application, to make sure that we're doing everything we can. And as part of our mission with this, and part of the community outreach that we're doing, as I Got This, we're going to be offering these additive service that I was talking about, those positive messages that are in the app.
Mm.
We're going to be delivering those to everybody with an Amazon Echo or a Google Home.
That's
You'll
awesome.
just
Yeah, I saw that
you'll
on the
just be able
website.
to
Yeah.
say, Alexa, have I Got This inspire me, and it'll give you a message, just that kind of thing. And we also have newsletters that are going out, and that's completely for anybody. You don't have to be a member of the community. We want to deal with trying to build awareness in the world at large, and especially in ADHD families, that again, ADHD is a byproduct of a superpower.
Yeah. And that's one ding against Rich today for triggering everyone's echo out there
Oh
that's
yeah,
listening.
sorry.
Yeah. He's in trouble for that one with you
Yes.
guys. All right. We'll let him off the hook for that one. So, one thing I wanted to briefly discuss, and I'm sure the community will discuss this too, is, how school, we're lucky we have the information that we do now. I don't
Mhm.
believe schools are currently designed really for people like ourselves it makes it more of a challenge, let's say, to succeed in that type of paradigm. This is a separate discussion about the return on investment in our beliefs of the actual degrees now, or going through school,
Right.
period. But what's wonderful about the app, I've noticed it can help kids with things like that, to remember things like, dude, the homework is this assignment due, is that assignment due. Uh, so your thoughts on that sort of topic?
Well, you don't want to get me started on our educational system.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I
I,
think,
uh, I think our educational system is broken,
right.
and almost beyond repair.
But
And
God
I'm
bless all those teachers, though. We're
Oh
trying
yeah, I
so
mean,
hard. You know.
it's really not the teachers, but I mean, right now, 10% of kids right now have ADHD. So I
Hmm.
don't know if the people realize that, but at this point in time in the United States, one out
Hmm.
of 10 kids is actually diagnosed with
Hmm.
ADHD,
Yeah,
which
I was
means
going to
there's
say that's a
probably
conservative number.
20%
Yeah, that's a
at
conservative number.
least that have it. And so, and these numbers continue to rise, and
Hmm.
so it's a challenge for teachers, because they are trying to teach basically to the common denominator, and most of the time, and God bless the teachers, they're not even so much trying to teach as they're trying to prepare kids for tests, which
Yeah,
is a
exactly.
whole different thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's a challenge. Now, like I've said, I was actually, when I was in school, right back in the turn of the century,
Hmm. Same
back
here.
in the 1970s, I my teachers didn't understand ADHD. I was a goof off, right? I was
Hmm.
hyperactive. I was the kid that just didn't care, didn't apply himself, forgot everything,
Hmm.
blah, 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 all those bad things. And I used to get, I mean, literally, they tried to beat it out of me. I would
Right.
get swats or paddled every time I forgot to bring stuff to class because
Sure.
they just got to that level of frustration with me. And,
Hmm.
and I don't blame them. I mean, I understand what they were going through, and I was
Yeah.
disruptive and all the other things. But at the same point in time, nowadays, kids are have a better time at school because at least the teachers are aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and whether you agree with medication or not, I have friends that are school teachers, and I think they would like just hand out Ritalin like a Pez dispenser to every kid
Sure.
that walks into class.
Yeah.
And I don't personally agree with that, but
Yeah.
I certainly understand where they're coming from
Hmm.
and how difficult it makes their job.
Hmm.
So I think there's, obviously nowadays you get an IEP or another plan with severe ADHD or even moderate to severe ADHD for kids that let them have exceptions. But yeah, I would say that from an overall standpoint of education, our school systems are not really designed to deal well with that. And in fact, and I'm not endorsing this one way or the other, but
Hmm.
my youngest daughter, who is probably has the most severe ADHD, and she's 8, we
Yeah.
took her out of public school where we had our other 2 kids, and we
Right.
put her into a Waldorf school.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, and a Waldorf is kind of like Montessori, but it's different. It's a
Yeah.
lot more, and she has thrived there where she
Yeah.
was just not doing well at all in
Yeah.
the public school.
That's
And
fascinating to hear.
yeah, it's something that I mean, I can only judge it by my own personal experience with my one child, but I think the way that they teach and being very hands-on and experimental and um, kind of nature oriented and kind of a holistic thing.
Right.
It's a lot better for her than public school, and it really has been a godsend for us. So,
That's very coincidental. I just met
yeah.
a man who did the exact same thing, and he's given me the same feedback.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. So that's 2 people I know that have had
Yeah.
success
Yeah.
with Waldorf. But we looked around at Montessori. We looked at, there's a private school here in Cincinnati called the Springer School, which is great for kids that are, have executive functioning issues, but it's like 20 grand a year.
Sure. Yeah. No joke.
And
Hmm.
so, that's outside of what is capable for us, at least at
Hmm.
this point. And
Right.
we really liked the idea of the way that Waldorf worked, and we decided to give it a try. And we're in it for the long haul with her. So I don't know if that's helpful for other parents who may be listening, but if you have a Waldorf school and you've got
Yeah.
kids with ADHD and they're struggling, then
No, please feel free to
obviously,
share. Yeah, our
yeah.
community really appreciates it for sure. So, Rich, getting back to I Got This, we see different elements there that you've sort of touched upon. So you're leveraging things like gamification is
Mhm.
what we've seen as well. Interesting design. Can you talk about like the design process, the user experience process? I know you're still in beta.
Mhm.
How is that going? How are you learning? Tell us about the mistakes you've made. I hate calling them mistakes because they're really just learning opportunities at this point.
Right.
Can you walk us through sort of where you're at now and that road?
Sure. So again, from a design principle standpoint, we tried to use the app, knowing that the form factor that people are going to be dealing with
Hmm.
as ergonomically as possible. And
Hmm.
so, one, we chose to not be at all supported by ads. We're going to be supported by a subscription thing. We don't want
Okay.
to sell data, and we don't want to show ads. We don't want to sell data, one, because what you've got going on is private, and your data should be your data, and we're not
Hmm.
going to ever share that data with anybody.
Hmm.
We're very concerned about privacy. And
Hmm.
as far as ads go, we believe that kids see enough ads as it is on television and around
YouTube.
the
Yeah.
world, whatever,
What
right?
you're watching now. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right, exactly.
If you're
Um,
watching.
And for kids, we don't want them to be exposed to any more ads than necessary. Plus, they're distracting, right? So part of our design is to make the whole solution be very focused on what kids are going to be doing, what they need to do, and also to be very soothing. So, we're using lots of blues and greens and trying to keep this kind of a calming, there's not a lot of blinking and whatever. We're trying to make it interesting. So that's why we send out these additives and things like that. You'll be able to, you get notifications and pop-ups when you've earned tokens and that kind of thing. But again, we're trying to make this a tool that basically a personal assistant that you have in your pocket. And we're making it not just for kids, right? I mean, the thing that a lot of people don't realize is there are some features that we've added in here that are designed specifically for adults. So you can basically, it's like there's a project management component to it, right? So you can create a project and then add tasks to that project and assign those tasks to different members of your family, your spouse, your kids. So if you're like, say, putting together a vacation, you can create a vacation project and you put in that vacation. I'm going to assign my spouse to make the airline reservations and I'll get the rental house, and here's the kids need to pack, and then you can create subtasks within tasks that show up as a checklist. So one of the things, like for a packing checklist, so you could say, I'm going to add swimsuit, medicine, flip-flops, whatever, and those things show up as checklist within the task. So
that's great.
When the kids finish all these different checklist items, that task is complete. Now we use that at our home as well for like cleaning things, right? So clean your bedroom, and here's the list of tasks that are involved in cleaning the bedroom. We break it down into a set of smaller tasks, which is a skill that I think a lot of people need to learn, especially with ADHD, but it's especially a strong life skill for kids. You take the boulders and you break them down into rocks, and you break them down into pebbles, so that you can carry a handful of pebbles, but you can't carry a boulder, right? And that's what we try to teach our kids is, break it down until you get to the atomic level of what you can do. Here's the order in which you do it. And it just makes it so much easier for the kids.
Right. I'm sort of a novice getting things done sort of practitioner. I've a love-hate relationship with it. I know a lot of people bring up the Checklist Manifesto as a book sort of that's inspirational for a lot of people. And in my head too, I've been thinking for my daughter, checklist, I gotta get her into this skill to introduce her into this skill, because none of us were really, at least I wasn't taught this as a kid, any of these type of organizational things. And as growing up as a latchkey child with ADHD, you're really thrown to the wolves out there.
Yeah. And I was the same experience with me. And it wasn't until I got into IT and started using project planning and Microsoft Project and creating these waterfall, breaking things down, breaking them down, that it dawned on me, this is the way I need to live my life, because I've got all this stuff in my head. I can't remember to do everything. And that's a key differentiator between ourselves and people without ADHD is, you don't have a regulator that like filters out all the stuff that comes in, which is a great feature in a lot of ways, because, you have a lot more input and you have a lot more creativity and insight and things that other people don't. But at the same time, it's like a fire hose against your brain, and you can't keep track of all the minutia that is necessary to survive daily life. And so that's what this is for, is to help these kids basically have a personal assistant. You look at Justin Timberlake, right? He's got ADHD. Do you think that he can keep track of his life without an assistant or 3 or 5?
Right.
He's got personal assistants that help him. And so that's what this is supposed to be, is kind of a PA for your kid that will help them stay on track and motivate them and remind them that they're awesome. And that's what my kids needed.
That's great. Yeah.
I think that's what, it's going to provide to a lot of parents and really help these families be better and help these kids, feel better about themselves and be productive.
A unique aspect or feature, sort of a killer feature that we noticed was something that I believe you called life plans. We looked at them as almost like templates in the app. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, and that again is another feature that was designed for parents
Hmm.
specifically. But basically, these what we call them are planning wizards, and what it does is it helps you as a parent put together a plan for your life by asking you a series of questions and then recommending tasks. So one of the ideas that one of the things that we have is a holidays wizard, right? And so it'll go through and it'll say, okay. Are you planning to celebrate? Let's go through the U.S. holidays. All right, we'll start with Valentine's Day. Are you planning to go uh, celebrate Valentine's Day? Yes. Okay. Are you going to go out or stay in? We're going to go out. Okay. If you're going to go out, are you going to go to a restaurant? Yes. All right. Then you need to make your restaurant reservation back in December. And
Hmm.
so it'll put a suggested task, make restaurant reservation for December 14th, 2 months before, so you can get a table,
Hmm.
and it'll remind you to like get your clothes dry cleaned and buy a gift and get flowers and all the things that you wouldn't think of until the day before Valentine's Day, and
Sure.
then you're out of luck. So the idea is to, based on experience, ask a series of questions and help you put together a plan so that you don't have to worry about it. It'll remind you when it's time, that it's time to do this, it's time to do that, just by basically interviewing you. So we're doing that for holidays. We're going to do that for, like home ownership and vehicle ownership and just life in general. Time to do taxes. Here's all the things that are involved in that. So again, it's one of the things that we really felt that we as adults need to help us get by. And one of the things we're looking to do, and we're not doing it right now, but in the next version, is we're going to be allowing people in the community to submit their own wizards. So, I don't know anything about, Rosh Hashanah, right? But I know how to plan for Christmas, right? So
Right.
I can, somebody that knows how to plan for a particular holiday or has a specific skill that, others that help people plan. We're going to allow people to submit these kind of plans to the community, and then
Very cool.
you can come in and find the type of thing that is relevant to you and be able to
That's awesome.
download and or not download, but run through that plan and set it up for yourself. So
Wow.
yeah.
So, what are the sort of learning points at up to this point? What would have you done differently up to this point?
Oh, well, you know what? For the nerds and geeks in the audience that are technical, and
We got plenty of
one of
those. Hmm.
one of the one of the lessons learned was that Apple's notification system really sucks.
Hmm.
And so we tried to use local notifications in the app to basically schedule alerts so that if you were um, offline or whatnot, you would get the notification.
Hmm.
What we found is the limitations that Apple puts on that to prevent bad developers from abusing it made it to the point where it was just unusable for us. And so we
Hmm.
had architected the solution based on using local notifications and scheduling those locally in the device.
Hmm.
And we had to change tacks and go to a push notification philosophy where it's the server that is pushing that out. So that was one of our lessons learned from
Hmm.
a technology perspective. Other things that would I have done differently? Um, I would have started generating the buzz in my audience earlier on.
Hmm.
To be honest, I was a little bit concerned that of kind of exposing my startup too early and having
Hmm.
people try to copy it or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm gaining ground in people understanding what it is. And so,
Right.
like I said, right now we're using Facebook ads a lot
Right.
um,
Very
to
smart.
to to do that and generate awareness. And
Mm.
that's really helping. I mean, I've got thousands of followers now on Facebook, and
That's great.
said people signing up every day just to be part of the beta because there's
Congrats.
such a thank you. Yeah, thanks. And there's It's mostly because there's such a need and a demand out there, and Facebook is really good at segmenting the audience, and so you can target just the people who's your message is going to resonate with. But would I do it again, I would probably have started earlier in the process of building that audience, so that there was I had a larger group of people that would be ready to participate in this. But live and learn. It was a good experience.
Thanks. It's very helpful for, there's a lot of people like yourself, sort of self-starting entrepreneurs that are just either transitioning out of, midlife careers like myself or ourselves and into entrepreneurship, and people coming right out of school, right out of school,
Right.
that are starting their path to creating something themselves. What are sort of the important books, media, things like that sort of inspired you?
Eric Rice, The Lean Startup, was a big part of that.
Wonderful book.
And as weird as this is going to sound, probably for me, this whole entrepreneurial thing has been a kind of a spiritual journey as well. It's taken a great deal of faith, and it's like jumping off of a cliff in a lot of ways. You don't know what's going to happen, and for me, I had been thinking about doing it, but was not fully
committed to it.
Well, I wasn't fully prepared for it, right? I mean, I was at the point where I was moving in that direction, but I really needed, to get kicked out of the nest, as it was.
Right.
And so some of the, I've done a lot of reading about just, basic faith and having, and I'm not talking about religious faith, but just, taking risks and having faith that if you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, it will
sort of manifest. Yeah.
And so that was important. I've followed a few good bloggers like Seth Godin. He's been pretty inspirational. And Jonathan Fields, who is he's about helping business people, like the conscious capitalist and stuff like that. People who are trying to be mission-based businesses. And I took a class from him on writing a manifesto, which sounds a little weird, but it's not like the Unabomber kind of manifesto. It's basically a way for you to be able to crystallize what your vision is about what's important, what you're trying to create, and also in a way that helps you get better in touch with the people you're trying to help. And so the course that I took from him on writing a manifesto was really helped me get into the needs of my audience and be able to better tune both my message and the product to help meet those needs. And so that for me was very valuable as well. So from a business standpoint, I guess it would be Eric Rice and Seth Godin and Jonathan Fields. And then I've read a lot of different things about meditation and mindfulness, which has helped me, especially with ADHD, try to get out of my head and be able to focus better on the important things, and approach this in a more mindful way, which I think has also been very valuable.
Yeah, it's been a complete game changer for myself as well with my ADHD. It's I highly recommend looking at some form of meditation.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been good. I use an app called oh gosh, I can't even remember the name of the app, but
there's Calm, and there's so many now.
Yeah, there's I think it's basically
I'm a YouTube guy. I'll just go to YouTube.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about YouTube, but Simply Being is what I use. But I'm thinking about, there's not any real meditation apps out there for people with ADHD that I've been able to find. Maybe you have, but I'm looking to maybe in future versions incorporate something like that to help help with that, because, like I've been trying to get my kids into doing meditation, and I think they kind of roll their eyes at
Yeah,
looking
it's
at doing
challenging.
that.
Yeah,
But
same here.
it is what it is. It's been very helpful for me.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Rich, what kind of future plans do you have that you can share? And how do people get on the beta? And when can we expect a rollout? And I think mid-June is what I've been hearing.
Yeah, that's our goal, is mid-June. I'm hoping to have it out by the first day of summer, which is June 20th. And that's going to all depend on the speed at which we resolve the bugs that we've had, which have really been fairly minimal
Mhm.
so far, knock on wood, and finish off the remaining features. But you can go exactly to this page, which is iGotThis.com/beta, and sign up for a free early access account. It does say right now phase 1 and 2 are full, and
Mhm.
that is true. We're now into phase 3, and I've just opened it up to another uh, 600 or so families that have registered. I have found that there's about the filter from people who registered to be part of this to people who actually go through the sign up process and then to actually use it. It kind of goes in thirds. So
Of course.
we're
Yeah.
we're trying to get as much use out of it as we can to get feedback. And there's been some people that have provided some great suggestions on ways that we can improve the UI or add some additional features.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we're looking to do in the next version is we're going to use beacons
Mm.
and BLE beacons. We're going to sell those as
Can
part
you
of.
explain what that is for the viewers or people who have no
Sure.
idea what that is?
Sure. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah. Right. I'm a geek. Right. So sorry about that. BLEs, Bluetooth Low Energy, and they're basically a little lighthouse that broadcasts its unique ID. And this is an example of a beacon. This is an Estimo sticker beacon.
Can you describe it for the people that are listening, Rich?
Yeah, so it's basically a small piece of plastic. It's about the thickness of 3/4 and about the size of a $half,
Mhm.
or maybe 2 inches. And it basically has an adhesive back on it, and you can stick it in various different places.
It's very
And
small. Mhm.
what it does is it broadcasts about 3 times a second its unique ID. And the phone, even when the app is not running, can hear these beacons. And if a particular ID is registered to a particular app, it will launch the app. And so
Mhm.
the part of it that is relevant to this is when you get near one of these beacons, even if you don't have the app turned on, it
Mhm.
will launch iGotThis, and it will check to see if there are any tasks that are associated with that particular location, which could be your kid's school locker, it could be their bedroom, it could be the family room, it could be,
That's awesome. Mhm.
whatever. And so the idea would be is when your kid comes to their locker at school, they have this beacon in their
Mhm.
locker, and the phone will say, it's 10 a.m. Make sure you take your gym bag to gym
Mhm.
class, and at 2 p.m. when it's time to leave school, they'll say, don't forget to bring your book bag home, and whatever, while you're at your locker. So it gives you these messages based on where you are in the time of day, that helps. It's basically, again, it's part of your personal assistant for kids. So
So it
some
triggers like a very interesting sort of workflow. Any reason why beacon versus GPS? Is GPS more process or battery intensive?
Well, GPS is the granularity, if you will,
Mhm.
is pretty coarse, if you will. So, I
Mm.
mean, you can get within 15
I see
yards
what you're saying.
maybe, but
Okay.
if you're in a school building, it can't
Right.
know that you're near your locker, right?
Right.
A
Okay.
beacon has a much shorter range but a
Right.
much finer granularity, and so
Right.
we use GPS. And right now the current version of iGotThis has GPS notification, so you can set an alert to remind you when you're near your grocery store to pick up, to do this task, even if
That's
it's not
awesome.
time for the task.
Very cool.
But we really wanted to bring that down to to a micro location
Wow.
perspective. And so that's one of the things that we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
We also are looking at helping integrate this into the education space.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we're looking to do there is, look at opportunities that this could be used by teachers to help their entire class be able to be
Mm-hmm.
more productive and be able to measure that productivity with the dashboards and that kind of thing to see how much better the kids are getting at getting their homework done and that kind of thing. And as teachers, like we said, they have a tough job, so something that can show efficacy, that you can see how the kids are improving over time, is going to be great for the teachers as well.
That's great. So for your app developers out there, we highly recommend also Web Form Design. It's a book by Luke Wroblewski, which is very helpful in terms of streamlining sort of web apps and sort of the form of app design. So Rich, where can we get more information about you, everything that you're doing, iGotThis, and all the future?
Well, iGotThis.com, and it's just the way it sounds. iGotthis.com is the place to go right now to learn more about the app. Our homepage goes through all the top features and so forth, and then you can read a little bit more about our journey on this process and our story. And it's been a family journey. It's not just been mine, for sure. And then you can also read the manifesto, which really kind of outlines why we're doing this and why self-esteem is so important, and what we're trying to accomplish with our mission. So iGotThis.com is really your one place. And if you want to sign up to be part of the beta, or you want to sign up to start getting the additives messages now, which we're sending out, and all that, it's all available on the website. You can just follow the links at the top in the sign up to get to those. And we'd love to have the feedback. We'd love to hear what you guys in the community want and how we can make this better for you and for everybody. I mean, I've designed this, I think, to reach and help a lot of people, but I know there's a lot of great ideas that I haven't had about this, that people out there are thinking, wow, I can see how we could make it do this and do that. I want to do that. I want to make this the best thing possible. And as you join the iGotThis community, we're going to continue to evolve the product and make it something that is just going to be transformative for families that can really use this kind of help.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Rich, and we thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
You bet. So
Thanks.
everyone, I am Adolfo Ferranda at NerdStalker on Twitter, nerdstalker.com. Give us the subscribe. Once you subscribe and like this thing, and for those of you on iTunes, give us the 5 stars. Nice rating would be wonderful. Again, we believe in design, tech, startups, and you. Thanks for watching, listening, everyone.